Hey, it's Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualise, My Asexual Life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality, so subscribe and hit the bell icon right now. So, I'm in the process of moving, if you didn't already know that. And I told the guy who was a contractor that the letting agency got out to come and do some repairs to my new home before I move into it that I'm asexual. This guy is a complete stranger to me, and I wanted to share with you some of the conversation with him around asexuality and what happened. So, yes, I'm in between places at the moment, so I'm still living in my old place at the moment till Tuesday. It's now Friday, so only a few days to go because the removal company are moving me on Tuesday, like my belongings, the bed and everything. So you might notice the curtains have gone from here. They've already gone over to the new flat. There's quite a lot of stuff that's already gone over that me and my best friend has manually taken up the city streets. Yeah, apart from one taxi we got to take a few things, the rest has been us walking up from one place to another. My best friend has been very creative and done a really good job of using the shopping trolley frame to be able to put items on it to take up to the other flat. So we've taken over 20 bags of stuff up there. The plastic boxes, plastic drawers that you file things in, basically. They're all up there now. There's a few CD racks that are up there. And I used to have a little stripy bedside table. That's gone. Minky, hello. Yo, I finally made one. Oh, I say lots of love to everyone on my channel. Oh, it's so good to see you, Martin. Martin is in my Asexual Perspectives book. And I had an Asexual Perspectives book sale today. I just looked at my book sales. I'm like, wow, that's a good start to the month. I sold one of these already on Amazon. So yeah, it's nice to see you. Yeah, so I went to so the guy came to do some work in my new place because there's quite a lot to do, and he did a lot. So there was some of the worktop in the kitchen, there was a hole in part of the worktop, so he fixed that. There's a strip that was missing on part of the kitchen, so he fixed that. Put another strip on there, which is nearly identical, not quite. So some of the shelves, well, it's quite worn, the kitchen, but some of the shelves, they were too close together in the kitchen. So he sorted that out and put more holes in there. And there was lots of stuff that needed doing. And it's still got a few things to sort out on Monday before I move in on Tuesday. So I was telling this guy that I'm an author and YouTuber. And then he asked me, what do I YouTube about? And I said, my specialist topic is asexuality. I said, have you heard of it? And he's like, no. I said, oh, asexuality is a sexual orientation that's based on the lack of sexual attraction. And I'm asexual. So I get attracted to guys only, but not sexually. And he's like, oh. And so the conversation was a bit, at first he seemed really, really accepting and interested. But a bit later on, when we were in the car, he was saying, oh, maybe your ex just wasn't good at sex. And I just absolutely hate it when a person said this. I don't think the guy's a bad guy. He was really helpful. He's been really good at what he does. But when he said that, I just cringe, and I'm just like, not again, because this is a typical thing that asexuals hear all the time. Is, oh, your boyfriend or your ex just didn't give you good sex, and that's why you don't like sex. That's why you're asexual. And I said to him, no, actually, I even told him personal stuff, which I share on this channel anyway, that my last long-term ex was abusive in every way, but sexually. And the only reason I think I liked that time with him was because he was nice to me then. He wasn't nice to me the rest of the time. So that's why I think I liked that time with him. And he was good at that. He put my needs first in that way. But in every other way, it was horrible. I told him, I said, he used to pin me up against wardrobes, which obviously is really bad, This is my last long-term ex. I said, but I haven't had sex since I was with him in 2011, because I actually told him I'm an asexual that has had sex in the past with 5 guys. All of them were rubbish apart from the last one. I said, but he was really attentive to my needs and really good in that way and put my needs first and stopped whenever I said I didn't want it. But I said, I think the reason I did that was, and like that time, was because he was nice to me. The rest of the time, he was not good. He was an abusive guy. And so after that, I've never had sex again because I couldn't bring myself to have sex ever again. So I said, if I wanted sex, I'd have sex, but I just don't want it. I'm really not interested. I haven't had sex since 2011. He's like, oh my God. And I'm like, oh, words to that effect. And I'm like, yeah, I said, I love it. I love not having it, not love it as in I love the fact that I haven't had it for 13 years. So he didn't really understand, I don't think, because I said to him that I've been interviewed by a sex therapist before, because I was telling him I've been on the BBC radio before. He said, was that recently? I said, no, 2017. But I said, I've been on the Jeremy Vine show as well, talking about asexuality. And I said, I can't remember the date of that. I think it was around the same, like similar year. And then I said, I was a speaker at the UK Asexuality conference in 2018 as well. And he's like, oh, I think he was quite impressed by that type of stuff, but he didn't really understand asexuality, I don't think. And he did say to me he didn't know about asexuality, but then he said in the car, because he was going to my old place, this place, to pick up some cabinets and the curtain poles and actually put the cabinets up in the other place. He didn't have to do that. I was going to have to pay someone to do that. So, and he's even put my sparkly curtain up for me on the curtain rod, so it's attached to the wall, so I don't have to stare at a blank wall, because it's a magnolia wall there. He drive me nuts. So I've got my sparkly curtain there, and I've ordered some pink lights that's going to go in it, which is going to look gorgeous. But it had a black blind in there. It was like very damaged and worn, and I'm like, I don't want that in there. It looked like a blooming morgue, and it was master bedroom. So now that's out there. I've got my own red curtains. That's been disposed of, that black blind, and I got my sparkly curtain, and I've ordered the pink lights to go on it, which LED, which will be beautiful on there. Really brighten up. I've just got a new lampshade today, because he was on one of the lampshades is damaged in there, but unless I got a new one, it sounds like they won't replace that because it's cracked. But anyway, I bought one today, so I'm hoping he's gonna put that in as well on Monday, because he's coming back on Monday because there's a problem with the shower. The hose doesn't fit in and out properly. So I managed to get it out, but I can't get it back in. I'm short, and I forgot to test that out when he was there. So it means that I need to pull the cord down, otherwise I can't wash myself properly. So he's coming back to sort that out on Monday. I wanted a new bath because a bath is disgusting. But at the moment they're saying no, and he's just said that it's discoloured, he thinks. So the landlord won't get a new bath at the moment, but it's absolutely, I don't like it. So I spend a lot of time in the bathroom, so it's so annoying. It's like a shower over the bath. But anyway, when I was in the car, I was telling him about the fact that I've been talking about asexuality on the BBC, Jeremy Vine show, and that type of thing. And he said, oh, there was a guy that I knew that I mentioned he was asexual. I can't even remember what guy he said he was. It's a famous bloke. He said, oh, but I think he was just saying it to cover up his gayness. And I said, well, there are actually gay asexuals. And yeah, oh, and that was the other thing he said. He then started talking about labels. Now, it really kind of annoys me that people who, for example, are heterosexual, when they're uncomfortable with something, they don't understand it, they then start talking about labels. But heterosexual is a label as well. If you're saying that asexuality is a label, heterosexuality is a label, right? And I'm sure he would define himself as heterosexual. So he was saying about labels. Oh, I'm not into labels. And I said, oh, so you don't label your tools then? I said, do you not label your tools because you have tools? So surely you give your tools labels, don't you? And then I said, you're a guy, aren't you? I said, you identify as a guy, wouldn't you? He goes, yeah, but that's because I am. I said, yeah, but it's still a label. But then afterwards I thought, well, I'm really asexual. Do you know what I mean? So personally, I know there's a few people in the asexual community that don't like labels, but the majority of people that I see who don't like labels are the ones that are actually uncomfortable with asexuality. And they just say, oh, I don't like labels. But they're quite happy to label themselves in other ways, label themselves as a certain gender, label themselves as someone who's a certain political preference, label themselves as someone's a religious preference, label themselves as other things like I'm a gamer, I'm a TV watcher. All these you could say are just labels. Everything's labels. People label things to categorize things to make things more clear. So even the people that say I don't agree with labels, they'll have other labels in their life. They'll probably label their tea and their coffee and stuff, or they'll label their paperwork, or they'll label their filing system. or they'll label this person as my friend, this person is my bank accountant, this person, it's all of it's labels. You can't get away from labels. So even if you say you don't agree with labels, a lot of the time people that say they don't agree with labels, there's some area of their life that they do label. So most of the time the people that I come across, they'll be okay with talking about asexuality for a certain extent, and then they'll start going, oh, but I don't like labeling. And I'm like, but you weren't. I then think to myself, but you weren't thinking that and saying it to me a few minutes ago. You were just accepting it. It's not just strangers this has happened with. I've had a person I was friends with for a number of years. When I told her about my asexuality, she then said, oh, well, I don't, I don't like to label things and stuff like this. And I'm thinking, you're heterosexual. You've always been heterosexual. You know what I mean? So it's only because I said I'm asexual, but she's a lot better these days because she's like, oh, it's a time for asexuality because it's like a modern thing. Minky, giving yourself a label should be seen as something to help easily understand. Exactly, Minky. I agree with you. Like, we're asexual, so people know we're not sexually attracted to someone. I'm a gamer, so I play games. Yeah, Minky, I totally agree with you. And there's a lot of asexuals in the community that are gamers. Minky, in short, they should be used as a communication device. Yeah, exactly. I see labels as a good thing. I don't see labels as a bad thing, and everything's labeled. I mean, just imagine if we didn't have any labels, we go to hospital and get given something that we're allergic to, have an adverse reaction to, or we don't know what the hell we put in our bodies. I mean, a lot of the time with medicines, you don't know what you're putting in your body anyway. You get something to like cure depression, apparently, or calm depression down. You see, oh, one of the side effects is depression. Something to calm your anxiety. Oh, one of the side effects is anxiety. I don't take stuff for anxiety and depression. This is to cure your stomach problems, but it can give you tummy pain as a side effect. It's like crazy, absolutely crazy. But yeah, so if we didn't label anything, we wouldn't, like Minky said, we wouldn't understand each other. We wouldn't, it's a communication tool, and it should be used to help clarify things. Some people just don't like clarifying things, and they don't want to clarify things. But for anyone who doesn't want to do that, I would look within as to why you don't want clarity into who you are as a person, and why you don't want to understand yourself better, and why you don't want to have self-awareness. I mean, I think people who are genuinely confused, you can say that you're confused or that you're not sure. I think that's okay, and that's perfectly fine. But I think we have to like be earnest, and we have to like actually understand ourselves as much as possible. I think it's important. And yeah, and so it was interesting, but also a bit difficult because it wasn't difficult as in the sense I didn't really feel totally uncomfortable, but I was just a bit like, oh, here we go again. It was like he seemed to be fine about my asexuality when I started talking. Then as the conversation progressed from in the flat to in the car, it was like, oh, well, maybe you just haven't had good sex yet, and why put, like, I don't label things. And I'm thinking, yes, you do. He labels himself as a guy. It's like, that's because I am. And I'm like thinking, well, I'm asexual, so of course he labels himself. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, that's a reality. And I'm thinking, I am a reality person. So I mean, he took an interest in asexuality. I did say, I'll have to check out your channel, hello, if he's watching. But I just, as asexuals, I think I speak for asexuals when I say we do get fed up with the same thing being told to us, like, over and over again. You just haven't had good sex. Maybe you didn't like the sex. Maybe the sex was no good. And it's like, oh my God. It just feel like you go round and round a goldfish bowl like this. It's like, whether sex is good or sex is bad, right? It doesn't mean to say that you're asexual. There are some heterosexuals that have really bad sex and hate it, but it doesn't make them asexual. You can't make yourself be asexual. So it's kind of really hard. But I mean, I'm very open about asexuality. I do believe in talking about it. I do believe in saying what I do. I come right out that my specialist topic is asexuality. And I think it's important to share information about it, And I did actually say to him, I've had sex with 5 guys, 4 were bad and the last one was good at sex. I'm not interested in it. I said to him, I'd rather do the washing up, and I hate washing up, I'm not interested in it. And I said that when a sex therapist interviewed me, I was there saying I haven't had sex since 2011. I'm so happy about that and being really excited. And she said, but most people hate that. They'd hate if they didn't have sex for a short amount of time. And you're there being really cheerful. I'm like, yeah, let's have a party, because I love that. I find it really good. I feel really great not having sex, So that was an interesting conversation. But I thought, why didn't he just keep to acceptance? Why don't you just, say, oh, I'll check out your channel and keep to acceptance? Why then start saying you've just had bad sex and then start saying about labeling? I'm thinking he went from, in my estimation, he went from talking like he accepted it to then doesn't seem to accept it, if you know what I mean, in reality. So I always find it interesting to see people's reaction initially and then what it is. Now, some people have the opposite. Some people have a bad reaction, first of all, and then over a period of time, the reaction from the person gets better. I've had that from a female friend when she couldn't even bear to talk about it with me a lot of the time. We just keep changing the subject. That was a person who did say they're not into labels. And I think that was just because of her uncomfortability. But nowadays, she's like, oh, it's a modern times and things like that. It's best time to talk about it now. And it's like, she said to me, like, one video call, we don't call hardly ever, but she said, oh, it's like your time now, Sandra, with your expertise to tell the world, because it's modern times. So she's a lot more relaxed about it now. But it was hard because she'd been a best friend of mine for a very long time. And her other best friend, who was with us, went out with us at the time. She's moved to Turkey now and got married. But at the time, her other best friend, who's very sexual, she's a sexual cougar. I mean, she's 60 something and has sex with guys in their 20s and has no shame in it. And she's very sexual being. But she was okay with my asexuality. She was fascinated by it and she wanted to talk, and she was open to listening about asexuality. Whereas the person who's actually my best friend at that time, she herself had some uncomfortability about it and kept avoiding and not wanting to talk about it. Whereas her other friend, best friend, who she's no longer than me actually, when we're all together, she was happy to talk to me about it. And even though she's a very highly sexual being. So I just think that was very strange. But some people, they just are very uncomfortable about asexuality, they just find it very hard to accept it. And I don't really understand why. I was like, well, if someone doesn't like sex or don't want it and don't need it, what is the big deal? Why is it so like people are like, oh, do you know what I mean about it? I mean, there's so much porn, for example, on the internet, but no one like says, oh, why is everyone watching porn? It's disgusting. But and also, like, if someone doesn't want sex, it makes us a bit more safe to be around, if people have got children and stuff like that, because we don't want sex. So we're not going to be doing stuff like that to people that shouldn't be having it done to. And so I think, that's a huge benefit. You're kind of safe if you've got a pure asexual who doesn't experience any sexual attraction, is not doing any sexual stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, the kids are more safe with us, I feel, in that respect. So yeah, it's very odd. And anyway, there was another person that I told I'm asexual to, and that was a guy where I currently live, that I'm moving, the place where I'm moving out of, which is here at the moment. There's a guy who said he's moving in downstairs, and he happens to be Indian, as far as I know, because he's got an Indian name. And I said hi because we met. I said, oh, I only met him downstairs in this house. And I said, oh, hi, I'm Sandra. And he's like, oh, hi, I'm think he said Akshay. And he said, oh, I'm just moving in. I said, I'm just moving out. He's like, when you moving? I like, the 5th of November is when the actual removal team moves me. And he's like, oh, it's such a shame. I said, Jared, it's such a shame. And I said, oh, I said to you, are you a student? He goes, no, I work. And he said, oh, what do you do? And I said, I'm a YouTuber. He said, oh, what content do you create? And I told him I write as well, I think. And then I said, "Oh, I have a channel and specialise in asexuality. Have you heard of it?" And he said, "Yeah, I have." And that was our brief conversation. And I haven't seen him since. He went off with his friend, and it's weird. I put my card under his door in case he wanted to keep in contact, because he did say, "Oh, it's a shame," but my card's still there because it's poking out from underneath the door, and I haven't seen him since. So it's all really bizarre. I found that really bizarre because he's Indian as well. Like I said, as far as I know, his name's Indian and he looks Indian. And so, yeah, and I thought typical, as I'm moving out, an Indian guy's actually moving into my house here. So that's quite strange. But I haven't seen him since, and it's quiet there. So I don't know what's going on with that. I really don't know what's going on. But I told him, but when I asked him if he'd heard of asexuality before, he said yes. So that was pretty much that. So yeah, I find it very interesting when I speak to strangers about asexuality. Some people's views are positive, some aren't. And I think I might have told you that I went to a meetup. I haven't been to it for a while because I was poorly, wasn't I, for quite a while. Now I'm moving. So there was a meetup I went to. And when I talked to a guy there at a meetup, it was a meetup that I hadn't been to before. I told this guy that I was asexual, and he was very accepting of it. He liked talking to me, it seemed, and he didn't talk to me about sex. But then the following, so this is the difficulty, because when you're asexual and you talk to someone who doesn't talk to you about sex or doesn't say anything bad about you being asexual and seems to be very accepting, it gives you thoughts in your mind that, oh, maybe, because I know that guy quite likes me from his body language and the way he talks to me, has some attraction probably for me. He's not foreign, by the way. He's British and older and got children, but older than I would usually be interested in, and got kids. And so he's not suitable for me. But it was very interesting to see the contrast between when he's talking to me on my own there, and I'm telling him about asexuality, and he's like, seems not that interested in sex, compared to the following week where a woman turned up, sat next to him, and she was very flirting with him, and she did want actually sex with him. I could tell, because she was saying, oh, she lives in the opposite direction to him, but she could like go a different direction home, and basically she was hinting that she wanted, or basically telling him that she was going to could do a diversion and go to his place, which is the opposite end of the city. But he didn't understand the hint. So went to the toilet, and he's like, oh, I'll wait for you. And then there was only 4 of us in the end, and me and the organizer went off and down the street to go home, and she was with him behind us, and I thought she was going to his house for sex, basically, but it was kind of her that was instigating it, not him. And he just like basically said goodbye to her and walked with me and the organizer. And I said, I thought she was coming back to yours, because she clearly wanted sex with you, because she said something to him about, oh, but I could take a detour and not go home, and it was obvious. But I said that to him. He goes, oh, if I'd have known that, I would have had sex with her. So he gave me the impression that he's not that sexual, because when I said I'm asexual and not interested in sex, he seemed like really cool with that, really fine, laid back, and like, oh, that's just normal, which is good. But then as soon as he had this woman, this other woman, the next week, I talked to him for a bit, but then she came in, and I thought it's fine for her to talk to him. I wanted to talk to other people. And clearly she wants sex, and he's like, oh, I would have had it with her if I'd have known. And so, but he doesn't care if he gets women pregnant either. I said, but you'd have no condoms, would you, if it was just like, I even told him this. I said, you'd have no condoms, would you, if it was just like randomly like that? I said, and you don't want to get another woman pregnant, do you? Because he's already got 2 kids by different mothers. And he's like, oh, well, it'd be more interesting than my life, wouldn't it? Which is so boring. I'm like, oh my God, clearly not the right guy for me. But that's what I mean. Like, I think as asexuals, we have to be very aware that some people, you get some people that you talk to asexuality about that might seem like uncomfortable with it, not particularly nice about it, or disagree with it, which you can't disagree with someone's sexuality, because you are who you are, right? But anyway, they try. And then you get some people that seem like, oh, they're not sexual themselves because they don't talk about it and they seem very supportive. Then all of a sudden you get a sexual being come near them and they're like on heat or something. You know what I mean? It's very contrasting. I think as asexuals, you've got to be really careful, because if we meet someone and we think, oh, they might be suitable for a relationship, or we start fantasizing your head about this, that, and the other, you might think that someone, when you tell them about your asexuality, that they're accepting. They don't seem to be in sex themselves, because they're not saying, oh, well, I really like sex. They're like, oh, that's interesting. That's good. That's nice. You know, it's great you know this about yourself. It's great you help asexuals. It's great you do blah, blah, blah. So you're in your mind, you're kind of misled to thinking that they're okay with not having sex. And maybe there's a possibility that you can have a relationship with them even. And then you find out that actually when they're around a very sexual person or someone who wants sex, they're actually not at all disinterested in sex. They really love sex and want to have it. It's only because they were talking to you that I guess they were being, well, you could say, one, they're being respectful, or two, they're just pretending like they're not that interested in it because they're interested in you. And if they pretend like they're not interested in it and they're disinterested in it, you'll be more likely to spend more time talking to them, because it's like you're more comfortable around them because they're not doing the usual, oh, why are you like that? You shouldn't be like that, blah, blah, blah. So you feel a degree of ease and comfortability around them. But I think it's kind of a bit of an emotional or attachment trap if you end up being around someone who is good about your asexuality to the point you don't realize how sexual they are until they're around other sexuals. Then you find out they're not like you thought they were. So I've noticed this with more than just that guy. I've noticed that when I'm around guys, sometimes it's because, I think partly it's because they're respecting me, but another part is because they're attracted to me and they don't want to tell me I'm really interested in sex, because if they did, they'd know I wouldn't be interested and I'd probably stop talking to them, or I'd become disinterested in what they were saying. And they don't want to risk that if they're interested in me. So they'd rather keep quiet about the sex stuff that they love and just have a conversation about asexuality and other stuff, but really that's what they want. So I think we've got to be very discerning when we're talking to people, especially if we're romantic asexuals in any way at all, or even if you can be an aromantic asexual. You might think, oh, this person really likes me as a friend, and they don't really like you as a friend. They like you more than a friend, as in they wouldn't mind having sex with you, but they're not telling you that because they just obviously not really understanding asexuality or not really believing you're asexual. So you can get that. I've had people in asexual groups say that they've told, oh, actually, it was on this channel recently, I think a few weeks ago, I got a comment saying this person said I get fed up with telling people that I'm asexual, I'm not interested in sex, and they still don't believe me. They still try to romance me and stuff, and I'm not interested. So I think it's very disrespectful if you tell someone you're not interested in sex and they just still keep pursuing you. And you might have noticed recently, this week, there's a Pakistani guy that came back into my life. I hadn't seen him since last year. I couldn't even remember who he was. So I did a shorts video about this. I think I think it was just shorts, or was it a quick live stream? I did a video about this anyway, and this guy came into my life Monday this week. We're now on Friday, right? He's blocked now. I blocked him yesterday, so I haven't really updated you on what happened. But basically, he came back into my life, and I didn't even know who he was. And he said, "Oh, hi, how are you?" with a kiss. And it said this guy lived in York. So I'm like, why is he messaging me? Because I live in Exeter. So anyway, he messaged me, and then he asked me if I wanted to go for a coffee with him, because I said, oh, I'm moving. He goes, oh, if you need any help, let me know. Oh, perhaps we can go for coffee or something. And I'm like, well, I wouldn't accept help from someone I don't know, because I need to get to know someone first, not just speak to some random guy and get his help. I said, I wouldn't be comfortable with that, and I need to know a guy's character, because I said, I don't know your character. You just randomly message me. I like someone who's consistent and basically I'm honest. And he said, but we do know each other, though. We know each other from last year. And I said, well, can you remind me who you are again? How we knew each other? Because I, at the moment, honestly can't remember. So anyway, by the time he got back to me, I eventually worked it out that this guy was a guy I met through meetup.com, but he wasn't a good guy. He lied about the fact that he he didn't smoke when he did, because he knew I wouldn't want to kiss a smoker. So this is guy I met in 2022, I think it was, and I happened to be at a New Year party with him in 2022 at a club. But we met through meetup.com. And then I thought it was this year, but it wasn't. It was last year that I thought, I could have sworn it was this year, but it seems like it must have been last year, because I haven't been clubbing. I went to Bollywood party recently, but before that I hadn't been clubbing since last year. And so yeah, anyway, he said that we went to unless I'm mistaken on that, but he said that we met. He did get back to me and said that we went clubbing and met a meetup a few times, like, and I'm like, or something, where's that effect? And I'm like, oh, I remember you now. So I remembered him just before he said to me. And one of the reasons I didn't know who he was is because he used a different name on Facebook. So I went through a video, I think it was a live stream about red flags. Like, yeah, it was about red flags on when you should not get back with someone who you've dated before, been in a relationship before with, or potential relationship. And, so he comes on my inbox. I didn't know who he was, random. I didn't recognize him at first. His name was different. This is about, eventually worked out he's on meetup.com, and the only reason I could confirm it is because he's got a picture on meetup.com still. I looked at our past conversations. He's using his old name on meetup.com, or one of his old names, but on Facebook he's got a completely different name, and I already blocked him as far as I remember on his previous Facebook. I didn't block him on Meetup because we're in the same Meetup group. I thought I'd probably run into him again, but I blocked him on Facebook, I think, from his name that's very similar to the one on very similar, sorry, to the one on Meetup, but its surname was different. So obviously that's a huge red flag if they're using different names. Minky, 2022 December was when I moved here, so a New Year's party would have been kind of cool for things not turned sour. Yeah, this was a New Year's party at a club, but he was dishonest because he said he doesn't smoke, and I could smell smoke all over him, and it was just to manipulate me to get me to kiss him. So he's not a good guy for me. He's not a good guy at all. It was just so I would kiss him. And last time we went to this club together, I thought he'd changed. We went to Timepiece together in my city, and he still lied about smoking then to get me to kiss him again. And also he said, oh, I want a girl that I can go traveling with. And he said, I like sex. And he already knows I'm asexual. I said, you already know I'm asexual. I'm not interested in sex. I'm not interested in traveling either. He's like, why not? I want to go traveling. I said, because I'm not interested. I'm not the person you're looking for. We're not suitable. And then I went to the toilet, came back, and he just gone off and left me. It didn't matter, but in the sense it was my favorite club anyway. And I ended up dancing with 2 other foreign guys. 2 for the price of 1. But you know what I mean? The fact he left without saying a word was really rude. And he was the one who lied to me. I never lied to him. He lied to me. And he was the one who actually agreed we're incompatible. So he shouldn't have even come back in my inbox this week. But the reason he did, apparently, is because he's back in Exeter. And he goes, oh, I thought I'd message you when I was back in Exeter. So here I am. And I said to him, we're not compatible. I said, I remember you now. We went to a club together and you left without saying a word. And I said, I ended up dancing with 2 other foreign guys and having a great time. I said, but we established we're incompatible and have different values. That was before he went off. And then he said, oh, well, you don't have to have the same values to be together, do you? ? Oh, I want to go out and have fun. If you want that too, want the same things, I guess. And I'd already said that we're not compatible. I had wished him well. And so he didn't listen. So I wrote back the fact that, that's not what I want. I want something real and committed with a guy who's a team player, who's honest and kind and caring and empathetic. And basically, I said, and you're the opposite of all those things. I said, I don't just want to have fun and go out. I want something real with a team player who's into personal development and self-aware, and not just professional development. You're none of those things, and I've blocked him now. So it's just too much. Ella, hi. You are beautiful. Have a wonderful day. Oh, thank you, Ella. Lots of love to you. Nice to see you. Thank you for saying that. Appreciate it. So I say I love to everyone, by the way, regardless of gender. I'm romantically I'm into guys, but I just say love to everyone because I like to share love. Um, so yeah, I was just like, this guy, I've blocked him because he's no good for me. He's not listening to what I'm saying. I'm saying we're not compatible, and I'm wishing him well in his life, and said I'm not interested. Oh, that's right. When I say I'm not interested, he goes, oh, but if you do want to go out clubbing and meet up sometime, I'd be happy to go with you. Kiss, kiss. Wow, you too girly. Bye bye. Thank you. So yeah, I just, so I blocked him now because at the end of the day, I said as well, I don't know if I should read my last message out that I sent him because it's quite interesting, but I made a lot of spelling errors in that. I'm like, oh my God, my spelling errors are really bad. But I'm like, you don't owe an apology for your spelling errors. He knows I'm moving. And in fact that he knows I'm moving, he's like, so this guy's no good, right? Because he not only did I tell him I'm moving, right? I told him that we're not compatible and he just won't listen. He's so selfish, there's nothing in the message that is interesting, that's actually nice for me. It's all to do with him. This guy's completely unaware of himself. He's completely doesn't take any responsibility for actions. So basically, I can tell you the whole conversation, read it out. Hi, how are you? Kiss. I said, hi, I'm in the process of moving home. Oh, right. Where are you moving to? If need any help, I'm in Exeter these days. Kiss. And I said, I'm moving to another place in Exeter. Thank you so much for the offer of help. I really appreciate it. But I like to get to know someone on a deep level before I would accept an offer of such help. Reliability, punctuality, consistency are important to me, and I don't know your character or why you randomly decide to message me. Question mark. It's not random though. I know you from last year when I was in Exeter. I decided to text you when I'm back here. Kiss. He keeps putting kisses on this. I hope you had a good day, Kiss. We can meet up for a coffee or something if you want to know me before taking any help, Kiss. But that's just stupid, isn't it, really? Because it says that you know me, we know each other, then he's saying you can meet up to know me. Tuesday, like this was going on for a few days. I said, thanks for reaching out. Before we make any plans, can you please remind me of how we knew each other from last year? Because I've had a really busy year and I honestly can't remember right now. I thought that was quite funny because it means that this guy really doesn't mean anything to me. And I'm not interested in him because I couldn't even remember him. The only reason, like I said, I eventually worked out who he was is because one of his pictures on his Facebook identically matches the meetup one he has. Oh, we met in the clubs a few times and on a meetup event as well. Can't remember more, Kiss. Well, that's just a lie. Red flag. Because if he can't remember more, why is he messaging me? I can't be that memorable if you can't remember more. It's a load of rubbish. I said, oh, I remember you now. You have another different name here on this profile. Red flag, red flag, red flag. If a guy's got multiple profile names, then obviously he isn't being his authentic self and hiding things. So I said, oh, I remember you now. You have another different name here on this profile. Last time we went to a club, after establishing we both want different things. Don't forget, this guy is not asexual and he knows I'm asexual. Last time we went to a club, after establishing we both want different things in a relationship and have different values, you left the club without saying a word to me. But I stayed and ended up dancing with two other foreign guys instead and had a great time. I've moved on since then and wish you well. So he should have just left it at that. But no, he goes, I remember. So he gave me, this is like a narcissistic thing, right? This is like a gaslighty thing, getting me to feel sorry for him and not taking any responsibility for the way he treated me. There's no way that you go to a club with someone, invite someone, and then just walk off without saying a word to them. Right. So I said, he said, I remember leaving the club because of feeling pain in my chest. Turned out it was an infection I had to sort with the doctor. Stopped smoking since then, as doctor advised, but drink sometimes. Anyway, I hope you're doing good. Kiss. I do not believe him because he's always lying to me about the smoking constantly because he wants me to meet up with him and snog him, kiss him passionately. And he knows I will not kiss him if he smokes. And even if that was true, which it's not, I'm sure, but even if it was true, you wouldn't just walk out of a club. You'd message the person saying, hey, I had to leave or something. You wouldn't just walk out without saying anything because I wasn't feeling well. But that's not what happened. It's just a load of rubbish. Absolute load of rubbish. And on his Facebook, most of the people he's friends with is women. And he's like, got pages of drugs that he likes. So clearly he's a druggie as well. So so I didn't reply to that message about the fact that stopped smoking since then, because I just think it's a load of crap. He's addicted to smoke. He told me he can't give it up. He told me that before when he was actually in an honest mode for once. And then he said again, if you want to meet up again or hang out clubbing someday, feel free to ask. I'd be more than happy to go with you with a double kiss. And I said, thanks for the offer, but we both have different values and we both want different things, so we're not compatible. I don't know how much more I can't spell it out to this guy, or can spell it out to this guy, I should say. And then he came back going, people have different values. Doesn't mean they can't be together, does it? We're talking about values here. We're not talking about differences in hobbies. We're talking about values, right? And this is what he said. People having different values doesn't mean they can't be together, does it? And I want someone to go out with and have fun with. If that's what you want as well, then we want the same thing, I guess, with a kiss. And then I put, yes, people having different values and morals means they cannot have a healthy relationship and are not compatible to be together long term. I am looking for something real and meaningful with a committed team player, an authentic guy who's into developing himself personally, not just professionally, who I can grow with, who is honest, reliable, trustworthy, kind, I said consider, I meant considerate, caring, I meant empathetic, but I ended up putting empathetic. I had a load of spelling errors in this, but I was just like in the middle of being so stressed about moving, and I don't need this stress. Like, I hardly had any sleep because I was so anxiety induced by him going on, like carrying on the conversation when I basically said no. So I said kind, I want some kind, caring. What have I said? I want a guy who is into developing himself personally, not just professionally, who I can grow with, who is honest, reliable, trustworthy, kind, considerate, caring, empathetic. We just forget the spelling errors at the moment. Respectful of me and my time, self-aware, who takes responsibility and accountability for his actions, who wants to plan a future life together with me. And you are none of those things but the opposite. I am not looking for someone I can just go out and have fun with, not a hookup or just an experience, and not someone who has lied to me and disrespected me and feels entitled to still come back into my life and for me to spend my precious and valuable time with him when I have other options. And I gave him an hour to reply and then blocked him. Because this is just, the fact that he thinks he's entitled to just, be lying to me. I gave him a second chance and he still lied to me. The fact that he thinks it's fine to lie to me, fine to just walk out in a club and say F all to me, it's just so disrespectful of me, of my time, doesn't value me at all. And you can tell all he wants to do is hook up. All he's interested in is, like he says, what he wants is someone to go out with and have fun. That's it. He doesn't want anything serious. He doesn't want a relationship. He doesn't want any responsibility. He doesn't want any commitment. And all he wants to do is lie to get his own way. It's just ridiculous. This guy is no good. I think that's why he's single. I know some people are single for different reasons, obviously, but I think with him, he doesn't take responsibility for any of his actions. He didn't say sorry. Oh, sorry, I lied to you. Sorry, I was an ass to you. Nothing. It's all about him from the beginning of that conversation. It's all about him, isn't it? Yes, he asked me out, but it's all to do with him and his pleasure and his gratification. And now he's back in Exeter. He just wants someone he can go out with and have fun with. Well, you could argue, oh, it means I'm a fun girl to go out with and have fun with. And yes, of course, I'm good at going out and having fun. But that's not what I want. I don't want to just be experience, because a lot of guys, even though I don't have sex, a lot of guys want to be with me for an experience. And this doesn't just happen to asexual people. This is actually happening a lot on the dating scene, because I'm in Matthew Hussey's Love Life Club now. I don't know if you know that, but Matthew Hussey is the world's #1 dating and confidence coach, right? On YouTube, he has over 3 million subscribers, and I've paid for a year's membership to his Love Life Club. So I have the best trainer in the world, basically. You know, Matthew talks about this as being a problem in dating. There are some people that come and they give you this like love bombing or whatever, and they're really interested in you and they like, you know, really want to see you, really intensely into you. Then all of a sudden they just like go cold. And that's because they're after an experience. They're not after a committed relationship. They're not wanting to commit to things and actually grow with a person and be in healthy communication and work on the relationship. They just literally want to come in for the experience. And then it's like, oh, I'm bored of this now because I just want the experience. I don't actually want a relationship. When it starts getting like attachment, and when it starts getting like a possible serious relationship, and then it's like, oh, this is too real for me. I don't want this. I just wanted the fun experience. And that's when they go off and they grow cold. And so this doesn't just happen with asexuals, but obviously it's bad if that person knows I'm asexual, they like sex, I don't, and they're still trying to pursue me. And I know some asexuals get pursued by sexuals, even though they've said no, and even though they say that they don't want sex, like I say I don't want sex. It's like this guy likes sex. So if he likes sex, why bother? But what you need to understand on the dating scene is apparently guys do not actually have that many options compared to women on dating sites. Women have a lot more options and can end up seeing a lot more different guys of their choice. From what I hear from Matthew and other like dating coaches, is that guys have a harder time on dating sites because there's less women who are interested in them. So basically they'll take what they can get. So even though I'm asexual, I'm not giving him sex. I mentioned this in the video the other day, if he's getting some sort of warmth and physical closeness, and even if it's not sex, and he's getting some caringness from me, in a world that can be quite cold sometimes, and in a world that can be quite like isolating and uncaring for some people, you know, especially some foreign guys in the UK, especially if they're not settled, you know, that he's obviously not settled in himself, then you know they take the warmth and the connection that they can get even if sex isn't involved, because it's better for them to have that than not have anything, if you know what I mean, because they're needy and they want that, and they're not thinking about the other person, because he's not caring. He's not saying I want a relationship with you, Sandra. He's just saying I want to go out and have fun and have a good time, which is basically hooking up, but with me without the sex. That's what it is. He's basically saying I want to hook up with you. I want to have an experience and hook up with you, and just let's go out and have fun, because he knows I am a person who likes to go out, be sociable, have fun, and dance, which I do like doing. And I do still like, because I remember who he is now, I do still have some attraction, minor attraction for him, but I know he's an asshole, to be quite honest with you, because he's a liar. Not just once did he lie to me, repeatedly, and then he says he doesn't lie and carries on lying, and then walked out in the club. So you know, this guy is not a good guy. He's not someone you can trust for a relationship. It's not someone you can trust to actually be there for you. It's not someone that should be in my life. He doesn't deserve to be in my life. Right? And the fact he thinks he's entitled to just come back in my life when I haven't even heard from him for over a year, and he didn't say sorry about the way he treated me, and he's clearly got a different Facebook now. It's just under a different random name. I don't even know what his real name is anymore. I am so confused now. I don't even know what his real name is anymore. I don't even know which is his name. So I'm just not interested, because I've always said on this channel, if you give your heart to someone when it's the wrong person, you can't give your heart to the right person. There's no point in me wasting my precious time on this type of guy. This guy's no good for me. But I'm saying about this guy because I want to illustrate how some asexuals can still get someone after them, even if they've said they don't want sex and that person's accepted that, because some people in the world are so lonely and so deprived of touch and physical affection that they will take what they can get even without the sex, because they want that experience. So when you're talking to strangers and you're talking to them, like maybe you're talking to them and you are attracted to them, you have to understand that just because someone says they can be with you without sex doesn't mean to say they can be with you without sex and not be with other people and not have sex with someone else, right? So you've got to understand that if someone says I can be without sex, it doesn't mean to say they can be without sex forever. It doesn't mean to say they can actually want a relationship with you without sex and a monogamous relationship. You have to make sure that you take someone over a period of time, not just a momentous occasion, not just when you meet them. You have to give them time. You have to get to know people over time to know what their characters are really like. Matthew talks a lot about this because a lot of us end up going for physical characteristics, or we have this like attraction. Even asexuals, which some people don't understand, asexuals can still have innate attraction that's not sexual in nature. Some asexuals can still have this physical attraction towards others, but it's not actually sexual attraction, but it's still like a visceral chemistry. So you could have romantic and aesthetic attraction chemistry for someone who's got sexual attraction chemistry for you, but the two chemistries, they blend together. There's still a chemistry going on between you. And so you can end up being attracted to someone like that for you who's actually no good to be in a relationship with. And it's hard because you're not looking at character traits. Matthew always says we don't look enough at character traits. We're too busy feeling the chemistry to not actually take note enough of their character traits. Because I know that guy, right? Even though he's a liar, I know if I was with him again, close up to him, I would still have some attraction for him on a physical type of level. There's something about him and me that when we go together, when we're near each other, I know that it's some traction there. But I know that guy is no good for me. So I have to take into account the fact his character is no good for me. I can't have him in my life anymore. And I have to get very strict with myself about this. I have to stop being around guys that are no good for me, or even if I have an attraction to them. You know, I talk about Diary Confessions of a Hyperromantic Asexual. I talk about this type of thing. If you haven't yet got a copy of this book, make sure you do, because it's very insightful into dating and relationships. And like one of the reviews says, from a person who's not asexual, by the way, there's a lot of psychology about relationships in this book, and it will really help you in your dating and relationship life if you grab a copy of the Diary Confessions of a Hyperromantic Asexual book. I actually break down a whole text message conversation that this actual Indian guy sent me when I was in Oxford. I was in Oxford as a speaker for Blue Talks, talking about asexuality, actually, amongst other things. And there was a guy who happened to be Indian and come after me in a nightclub, and no, he didn't know me, and he didn't know I liked Indian guys at that time. So when he was approaching me and coming after me, so when he took me back to the hotel, I refused to have him in my hotel room with me because he did keep asking me that. And I said I'm asexual and don't have sex. And he's like, oh, that's fine. We can just kiss and cuddle. If a heterosexual guy says we can just kiss and cuddle, it's usually not going to be the case. It's going to push you for sex, right? So I break down the text messages he sent me in this book, and I dissect them afterwards. Because when I got back to my hotel, he was messaging me, I think, for like a couple of hours or something. And I dissect the text messages to what he says and how I'm feeling and what's good about his messages. And then when it turns from non-sexual to sexual. So you can actually see it in this book, how the conversation twists and turns. So 1 minute he's going really accepting of asexuality. Oh, that's great. You do that channel. I'm interested to know more about asexuality. And then he starts turning the conversation sexual. It's like flipping on a switch. And that's what I mean. Some people give the impression that they're fine about your asexuality, that they're okay with it. They like you. They think you're nice. And then they flip it. Then they start talking about their sex life. He did actually start talking to me about, this is one guy in this book. There's a different guys, but the one that I met at Oxford in the club, he then starts talking about the sex that he had with another woman. When I've told him I don't like sex, he then starts going into how good the woman thought he was at sex. I'm like, oh my God. So, but it's very interesting. Get this book if you're into dating relationships, or you just want to understand the psychology of relationships more, and you want to know more about behind the scenes of my asexual life. This book is like a behind the scenes of this channel. So in this channel, I talk about my own asexual life in order to help others with their asexual life. And I cover dating, relationships, confidence, self-love, self-care, and love and life and stuff like that. But those are like the main core things I cover to help asexuals. And in this book, I basically dive deeper into those concepts. It's on Amazon, this book. I dive deeper into those concepts, and I come up with life lessons that I learned during the time. This is my real life, but this is like a behind the scenes of this channel. This is like a behind the scenes of my life. And I would highly recommend you get it. The life lessons are really good. You can use them in multiple aspects of your life, even if you're not interested in relationships. So it's a good book. So it was bestseller, by the way, when it came out, this book, in multiple categories on Amazon.com, Amazon.co.uk. It was a #1 hot new release, beating sexual books. I'm so happy about that. And my Asexual Perspective book, if you want to know more about asexuality as well, get a copy of that. So, and my fibromyalgia self-help handbook. This is autobiographical superhero book. They're all on Amazon, by the way. Sandra Bellamy is my name. I hope you've enjoyed this live stream. I hope you've got a lot of insights out of it. So don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an episode. I've got to go and get ready to get some more sleep because I'm in the process of moving. And thank you very much, Minky, for being in chat tonight, and Ella, and thank you all for watching. So I should do some behind the scenes videos too. Oh, Minky, yeah, you should definitely do that. So definitely do behind the scenes videos. So anyway, lots of love to you all. Take care. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure that bell icon is hit. Otherwise, you won't get notified of when I go live or post new videos. Make sure it's hit. And I'll see you soon on the next video or live stream. Go and check out Minky's channel if you're into gaming as well. Minky in chat. Thanks for the stream. Thanks, Minky. See you soon. Bye. Lots of love, everyone. Take care. Bye.